Have you ever told yourself, well, I missed a couple of days already, so what's the point? I'll just try again another time. And then you totally give up on a challenge that you've given yourself, or maybe a new diet, or a new way of selling, or maybe a new manifestation technique, or it could be anything, any goal that you set. Where if you are somebody who routinely puts everybody else first, and then you feel like you give up on yourself but not on everybody else, then this is for you. Because I always noticed that about myself, and I believe I talked about this in one of the previous videos. But I think it's something that happens super often, especially if you are somebody who maybe grew up having to be the responsible one, or grew up gifted and had to had like a little bit more responsibility than you should have. Like maybe you grew up really quickly. Then this can be you. If you're someone who has identified as a perfectionist who gets burnt out, maybe you've noticed yourself recently getting burnt out. And I have to say, like, if you hear my dog barking, it's because my husband took our other dog on a walk, and this one is freaking out, which is not cool. If I need to, I might have to pause this. But anyway, all right. So this is really self-sabotage, all right? It's self-sabotage disguised as wanting to have to be perfect, or wanting to have fun, or following pleasure, right? We talked about this on Friday, or on the previous video, on like the list of things that I came up with that I wanted to do. Okay? Here's the kicker. Over the weekend, I did not stick to everything 100%. And the old me would wake up on Monday feeling like shit and being like, I gave up on myself again. Here I am. Here's the pattern, right? This time, I'm not allowing that to happen. And I don't want you to allow it either, because this whole experiment is keeping us honest, right? It's keeping me honest. It's keeping me on track. And so I didn't do a video over the weekend, so I'm going to compile this as the weekend, as basically days, what happened on days, I believe 4, 5, and 6. Okay. So we had a lot of fun this weekend. All right. We actually, on Friday night, we met up with a bunch of friends to go to this beach bar that we always go to see the sunset. And I love it because it's like right on the beach. So the kids play in the sand, they play baseball, they play football. Then at the end of the, like when it starts to get dark, we put like glow necklaces on them so we could see them running around, and they just have the best time. Then we had, let's see, the next day we helped babysit, not babysit, but like we came over to like have our kids play with like some of our best friends' kids so that they could go out to dinner and celebrate the husband getting a new job, which was so fun. And we took the kids out to a bar to watch football and to let them play outside and have some fun time together. Because here's what I'm thinking. Our house is on the market to sell. We know we're moving out of Florida, and we want to balance making the most of our time here with this challenge that I've put on myself to like sink back into intuition and into healthy habits and building my business and helping people and changing my life, for the better. And so this has been so good. Like I really love that everything that happened over the last weekend, because in the past, the old me would have just quit here and gone 100% back into old habits. This version of me is like, okay, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's look at what did I do good this weekend? What did I do good? What can I maybe clean up? And what sort of boundaries can I set for myself going on? Because if I'm honest with you, I definitely had more beers than I expected to this weekend. I mean, I expected to go to the Bonnier on Friday night and be like, I'm not drinking, but we were sitting there and I was like, oh my God, I just want to go get a land shark and just like sit and enjoy myself. And so I did. And that led to my friend buying me one and this and that and the other. And I was like, okay, tomorrow will be better. And Sunday, I know that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are playing and Baker Mayfield gets me super excited. Plus, we had an open house. So we had to wake up early on Sunday morning, get the house ready for the open house that was 11 to 1. And then we had the football game that went from 1 to like 4:30ish. But then while we were away from the house, we went to another one of our favorite beach bars and restaurants to grab some lunch and let the kids play. And they had live music. And the guy like sang all of our favorite songs. And it was just like the most fun little 2 hours away. We went home, watched the game. But while we were out, we got another showing request for like 5 o'clock. So we literally had more of a busy day on Sunday than I expected. So, but we're kind of doing this, treat this like we're living, in a vacation land until our house sells, right? Having as much fun as possible, but also doing this experiment and sticking to it, right? And so I realized that, when I woke up yesterday morning on Monday, which is why I really wanted to film this yesterday, but whatever. Things happen, especially when you have kids, like I'm not one of these 25-year-old influencers that has 0 kids at home and no responsibility other than her dog. And I can say that because I used to be one of those people who all I had was a dog and my life and my whole day wide open except for work. And that's not my life right now. Let's be honest. We got a lot of shit going on. And so that guilt and shame voice, though, that has shown up as I've become a mother of, you really should be doing this, like shooting all over myself instead of following desire and pleasure, right? And it came up like, well, there's this voice in my head that was like, you said you were going to have better habits and it looks like you haven't changed anything about yourself. And I was like, fuck you, bitch. And then, there was like a shame voice of like, well, I could be this far ahead on my challenge. But like when I actually sat back and took stock of everything I actually did this weekend and the connections we built with people, the friendships that we were able to be around. We helped our friends go out to dinner and watch their kids and they had a great time. And I realized, no, like this is the real experiment. How can I do this without being so strict on myself that I make life unenjoyable, right? And I think, I ruined it every time I have fun because, I think a lot of people make these like grandiose views of how you're supposed to be living your life. And fun is not one of the 7 deadly sins. It's not the 8th sin, okay? Fun is something you're supposed to be having. And so I asked myself yesterday, like, how can this real experiment look like fun and life and growth instead of rigid rules? Because I'm sorry that I'm not sorry that I don't need rigid rules in my life. But also when I was taking stock and looking at what I did, we literally fixed the whole house up on Saturday, sat there, we did the Silva meditation, my husband, and I even got my husband to do it. I did some of my exercises from the Workout Witch and picked it right back up yesterday. I feel so good about that. And, really, it wasn't all that bad. I was making it seem worse than it was. And it made me wonder, could I be trying to make it seem worse than it actually is? Because then I give myself an out to not have to keep doing this. And that's absolutely not an option. So I really think that it's an amazing realization when you do this consciously and you do this intentionally, that not everything has to be perfect for you to be on track. And even micro steps, like I think I've been so used to needing to hit it out of the park so much that if it's like all or nothing kind of thing, and because of that, if I miss a day, I collapse, right? And so the other thing, to be honest though, I was creating content last week. I count this as selling. However, I really would like, when I look back at the last week, I really want myself to get more active selling on socials. Like I've been feeling the pull to start a TikTok, to do more Instagram stories. So that's something that I'd really like to add in and double down on, because I think I overcomplicate that, like 100% overcomplicate it, and I shouldn't, because sales is all about connection, right? It's about connection, it's about these moments, and I need to make sure that this is getting in front of as many people as possible so I can help people like you who might have the same patterns as me to get through them, and then you get to your next level, right? Okay, so the lesson here is the self-sabotage comes from the I blew it so I may as well quit moments, right? And success comes from I reset fast and I keep going, okay? Where you're like pulling, I heard somebody say, I think it was Manifestation Babe years ago, like eight years ago, about being like an arrow, that sometimes you got to pull the arrow back to then slingshot it forward, right? And that just came into me just now about this, like maybe these moments where it's not a quitting moment, it's a you're pulling yourself back to reset so that then you go even further the next time. Because let's face it, even Robin Hood didn't get 100% of his arrows and his targets all the time, right? So the takeaway here that I really want you to remember is, if you've been beating yourself up for falling off track with some of your goals or maybe your habits, or you said I'd start Monday and now it's Tuesday and you didn't start tomorrow. Start tomorrow or start today. Start right now, whichever one you want to do. Just start, and it doesn't have to be perfect, like by any stretch. So and just stop making yourself beat yourself up for falling off track. Reset yourself today, and you didn't fail. You just proved that you're human and that you can get back up, okay? You're not like a piece of trash that's going to be put on the curb. You just get to pick yourself back up and note when you're starting to backslide. So if, like, for me, what I decided was, maybe on the weekends, if we have things with friends or family, maybe being so strict with myself is not the best idea. If I desire to 100% stop having a beer here and there, or at sunset, or you know what I mean, then that's one thing. But maybe I limit it to 2 while I'm out. So I'm going to experiment with that. Then I'm going to limit it to 2 when I'm out. Also, I prioritize the exercises that I'm doing and the meditations that I'm doing first, and the selling that I'm doing, the creation. That's the trifecta. So for me, that's the trifecta. That's what I'm doubling down on. And then once I've gotten all that done, maybe I open it up a little bit for myself. You know what I mean? For having a couple beers here and there when we're out with friends. But that's it. I limit it at that, because then it's intentional. Then it's like you savor what you're doing, you're paying attention to what you're doing, and that's it. So if you want to keep following along with me, tell your friends. I invite you to follow along with this. It'd be super fun. And if you want, start your own challenge. What would you challenge yourself to do today to change? And also, it could be something that you very often feel like you self-sabotage or give up on. And if you do, maybe that's the thing to focus on, so you can work out the kinks for yourself too. Because, where, like I said, I used to be a hit it out of the park type person. Now I appreciate every single step that I make in the right direction. So how about you? You could comment on this video here on YouTube or send me a message on social media. Let me know what you're doing. I want to support you, and I love supporting you. And I hope to see you tomorrow for the next video. Actually, we're going to be at Disney tomorrow with the kids. So it's probably going to be not tomorrow, but the next day. I'll have the content for you. Next time I do one of these challenges, maybe I'll do it a couple of days in advance so I can get these out every day. All right. Thanks so much. Love you, mean it.